last video, I talked about growing up in America and not wanting to be brown as much as possible. But I realized when I matured that I was pandering to the same people that were ignorant against my own culture. I may be American, but both my parents are Sri Lankan. And to go against that culture is going against my own blood. And do it for what? For the people that see me as something else, but I'm one of the good ones? Hell no. Tash and Vivek likely went through the same thing, but didn't have that experience. And to give even more introspection, there's a lot of hatred for brown people and idolization for white people in brown culture. And it's not just in South Asia, it's in Asia as a whole. I mean, a lot
because of Zoran's election. Okay, you guys love Sharia law. You love fundamentalist extremism when white people are implementing it, which is why y'all are also in my comment section saying repeal the 19th, which is why y'all celebrated when Roe v. Wade was overturned, which is why y'all are trying to get Obergefell overturned. You love Sharia law, but when you throw a hijab on it, suddenly it's scary. Okay, you love fundamentalist extremism, but only when it's white people flavored instead of Arab people flavored. Like, shut up. It is the same thing every time a white girl or a white boy or a gay person posts about Palestine. They're like, do you know what they do to gay people in Palestine? Do you know what they do to gay people here? Do you know what they're doing to trans people here? No, you love repressive policies when white people implement them. But as soon as a Muslim person implements it, oh, suddenly it's bad. Suddenly it's, oh, we're so enlightened here. Shut up. No one's buying it anymore. Okay? And frankly, calling Zoran like, oh, he's like the next Islamic revolution. He's literally a progressive. What about his policies, besides the fact that he's Muslim, makes you think that he's going to be repressive towards women and gay people? Explain that to me in a way that's not racist. I'm waiting.
This is Brown Boy Reviews, Episode 1, FBI Director Kash Patel and New York mayoral candidate Zoran Mamdani. This is the duality of brown man. What do a U.S. conservative security advisor and a New York socialist politician have in common? If you guessed a brutal dictator in exile, you were right. No, not that brutal dictator. The shared history between Zoran Mamdani and Kash Patel dates back to 1972. This is Idi Amin. He expelled nearly 80,000 Indians from Uganda in an act of ethnic cleansing. Most of these families lived there for generations, and they were given just 90 days to leave. Fathers of these two men were amongst those that were forced out of Uganda as Indians. Both families fled, end up in the U.S., one via Canada and the other via South Africa. The same traumatic history, but two very different paths. Kash Patel becomes a key Trump ally, a conservative, and a national security icon. Mamdani, a democratic socialist fighting for housing and immigrant rights in New York City. Same history, different politics. Trauma does not dictate destiny. It shapes it in complex and sometimes opposing ways. Brown Boy ratings, Mamdani gets a 10 out of 10. Kash Patel, 2.
Ohio State, it is known as a red state. They will vote Republican. That is the reality. And over 60, or should I say over 80% of the people in Ohio, they usually vote as Republican. They identify themselves as Republican. And yes, over 80% of Ohio is Christians. So these people in Ohio, when Vivek went during his campaigning, running for governor, he met racism. He was being asked, you know what, you are not, okay, you're Christian, but you're not one of us, you don't look like us, and why are you running for governor of Ohio? Why should we vote for you? And remember, Vivek is known as a strong Republican, very strong supporter of the current administration. He's known for that, and he identifies himself proudly as a Republican, which is good. But at the end of the day, the root of the matter is he's not white. He is known as an Indian. He's known as an Indian American. They identify him as brown. They look at him and they don't see they don't see themselves. When a white person look at him, they don't identify with him. They don't correlate with him. They don't like him as much as he says the right words as a Republican, as much as he portray himself as a Republican who should be trusted, and of course given the governorship. When the people of Ohio look at him, they don't like him. They see him as a brown person, and they don't see him as representing them. And that is what is facing as he's going through his campaign. For the longest time, black people have been telling the Indian American, the Latino American, other people of color that, you know, guys, at the end of the day, white people will not identify with you guys. Is as simple as that. Yes, as much as you guys want to isolate the black people, you want to be anti-black, but at the end of the day, when you want to associate yourself with the white and you want to enter those white spaces, the white people will not give you the room. They will not give you the seat. They will not give you the power. Why? Because they don't identify with you. And that's basically what the black people in America, they have learned for the longest time over the period of 100 years down the line. From the slave trade, when the black people got their independence and became, part and parcel of American as citizens, they have learned that, what, they need to work hard, they need to put in effort, they need to identify, and of course, stay in their own lane and achieve success, and of course be so good that people cannot ignore you. That's basically what most majority of black Americans have learned, and basically that's how they've been able to break the glass ceiling. And at the end of the day, black Americans always say, at the end of the day, we have to work twice harder or three times harder so that we're able to be successful, because the system, the way it has been put in America, is to make people of color, to make the black people to be suppressed, while the white people are always rewarded. That is how the system of America is operating. So for Vivek, when he's going through this campaigning, and you can see literally a fellow Indian Americans are saying, what, this guy is literally going through a humiliation ritual every time he's on stage, and people are literally throwing racism on his face, and still he's going on at his campaign. It's true, you can go forward and pursue your dreams and go, which is okay. It's still his right. But at the end of the day, also the reality is Republicans, they identify among themselves. They want fellow white. They want to make America great again for the white people, not people of color, not for the black people, but just for themselves. And that's basically the root of what Vivek is facing right now. So let me know what your thoughts are. Do you agree with this video? And drop your comment, and please don't forget to subscribe.